guys, it's Lily. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel again this week. I really appreciate it, especially after I've been gone for a hot minute. I know I haven't really posted a YouTube video in the last couple of weeks. I've been focusing on posting shorts. And you know, there's a couple reasons. First, I felt like I needed a little bit of a break. I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself to get things done, and I've been trying to just allow that space for myself to just not stress over YouTube. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be something fun for me, not supposed to be a job. I'm not trying to become like a famous influencer. I'm just doing this for fun. So I gotta keep reminding myself of that. Just my brain immediately wants to turn it into a job and something I have to get done. The other thing is I feel like YouTube's algorithm is really pushing for short type content, so like reels and TikTok looking stuff. Sometimes I feel like after working on like hours worth of, you know, editing and video shooting, the stuff doesn't really get pushed into people's feed. And then when I post like a 5-second short on like a Hoya bloom or something, then it's like over 1,000 people get to see this content, and so it just kind of feels discouraging. Like it doesn't make sense for me to spend hours shooting a video and editing it and all that, and then it just doesn't get seen. So it's like this back and forth in my brain of like, okay, but you're not doing it to become famous or be an influencer. But then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, but yeah, but I put so much work into it, you know, compared to like a 5-second stupid short video. So it's a battle, but I'm here, and I'm gonna continue to do this. I'll probably just do it like twice or 3 times a month. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself to do it on a weekly basis, just because I want to make sure I keep enjoying it and I don't turn it into, you know, like a chore. So with that being said, I haven't done a porch tour in a hot minute, so I thought I could go through and just show you what's going on with the porch and just kind of talk about my fertilizing routine right now and how everything is looking. There's been a lot of changes in the porch, mostly the layout of things. I've gotten rid of most of my begonias. I feel like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders when I made that decision. Begonias were one of the first plants that I got into when I started collecting plants. I love begonias, especially angel wing begonias. So I like quickly accumulated a lot of them, a lot of different types, and they used to be right behind me. And I loved them for such a long time. And I was really good at growing them. The problem is that begonias need that constant maintenance. When I say that, I mean because they're angel wing type begonias or cane type, they grow really, really tall, and so unless you're like on top of them all the time to like clip the top, they just become very leggy. They don't become bushy. You're constantly having to cut them, reroot them, repot it. It's like at least twice or 3 times a year I would have to do maintenance on my begonias. So long story short, about a month and a half ago, I decided that I needed to be honest with myself, and I just didn't have it in me to take care of that many begonias anymore. I mean, I had over 30 different types of begonias, and they were all really big. So and I knew that they were slowly declining because I wasn't maintaining them the way I used to. So I decided I was going to give some away to my friends. So about a couple weeks ago, I met up with my friend Ashley, Emmanuel, and Irina at Orchids, and I brought literally a trunk full of begonias for them. And so they are now in new happy homes, hopefully being taken care of, and I'm just very happy. I feel very good about that decision. I feel like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. I didn't get rid of all of them. I don't know if you can see behind me right now, but I kept my favorites. So I picked about 5 or 6 that I really loved. So now that I have all this extra room behind me, or I did have all this extra room behind me, I kind of decided to fill it up with orchids. I've always loved orchids. I think I mentioned that in like my first YouTube video that I ever posted. I just didn't have the ability to grow them successfully. I don't know why, but I always killed every orchid I had. But I gotta be honest, that was before I learned as much as I know about plants at this time. So like when I was younger, I think I was like in my early 20s when I decided I wanted to collect orchids. And I remember I would go to Trader Joe's like every other week and buy an orchid and then try to grow it. But then immediately after the bloom died, I think the orchid would live for like another couple of weeks before I murdered it. And now looking back at it, I laugh because obviously I know what I was doing wrong. I was putting it in like potting soil. I was repotting it immediately into like this thick potting mix. I was like watering it with ice cubes. I mean, I was making so many mistakes. I was following like BuzzFeed directions on how to grow orchids. So obviously I wasn't doing a very good job. But now, after collecting hundreds and hundreds of plants and going down this rabbit hole of plant growing for the last few years, I feel like I've learned a lot, and I finally got to a point where I can actually grow orchids, and I'm very, very happy about that. I think it also helps that I have a few friends now that collect orchids as well, like Rick. Rick has the most beautiful collection of orchids in his yard, and so I'm always obsessed with going to his yard and just like walking around and seeing all the blooms. Then I met my friend Emmanuel. He has a huge collection of orchids, also grows them outside in his yard. My friend Irina has a huge collection of orchids as well. So it's like I have the resources now, I have the knowledge, and I have friends that know what they're doing. So anytime I'm just not sure about what to do with them, I have resources to reach out to. So now I'm going slowly down this orchid rabbit hole, which I know it's going to be really hard for me to stop buying orchids, and I know I'm just going to start hoarding them. As you can see behind me, the area that used to be begonias is pretty much already full with orchids. So I'm trying to be very selective with the ones I buy. I know that I love cattleyas the most, but I also have a soft spot for anything that just looks weird. So we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, I'm going to stop rambling now, and I'm just going to walk you through the porch and give you a little tour, and just kind of show you the updates. So as I mentioned, I switched from begonias to orchids in this section, and like you can tell that I only have the top 2 shelves of begonias now, whereas this entire section used to be filled with begonias. And so I moved my orchids to this section, and they seem to be doing really well. I only have 2 vandas here. I have this giant vanda, which is a tessellata cross. It smells amazing when it blooms. And then I have this one here that's a rehab from Rick's, and I have no idea what it is, so I'm looking forward to it hopefully blooming for me soon. I'm really happy to say that, look, it has new roots growing, so hopefully it'll bloom for me at some point. Also very proud to tell you guys that I've been doing a really good job with fertilizing my plants this year. I know I mentioned like 50 times that I was going to make it a goal for myself to just fertilize things more often, and I have kept up with that. I want to say I'm fertilizing every couple of weeks, and I'm learning a lot more about fertilizing begonias specifically, which I never really specifically looked for since I only had like a couple of orchids. I watched a video on YouTube, and I'll link it in the description box. But my friend Emmanuel suggested I watch this one video, and now I can't remember the name of the lady that shot the video. But basically they went over their fertilizing routine, and I learned a lot through watching it. So right now I'm using Peter's Professional orchid fertilizer. It's not an orchid fertilizer, it's Peter's Professional 20-20-20 fertilizer. It's like a water soluble fertilizer, and then I'm also supplementing that with of CalMag, which gives the plant calcium and magnesium, and it seems to be helping them a lot. I also water them with Super Thrive, the vitamin solution, every once in a while. So I want to say I fertilize them with the 20-20-20 CalMag combination every couple of weeks, and then in between that I give them Super Thrive, and they seem to be enjoying it for the most part. So I also keep this little sprayer right here, because since I do have a couple vandas and a couple other orchids that like to be fertilized more often, that just makes it more like, I don't know, easier for me to just come out here and water them if I already have a sprayer bottle filled with water. And a lot of times I just fill it with Super Thrive and spray them a little bit with Super Thrive, and they seem to be enjoying it. If we move along to this section, I know I've shown it before, you guys have already seen my desert roses, but they're actually thriving right now. But what I wanted to show you too is all of these like orchid propagations I'm working on. My friend Emmanuel gave me a few cuttings, and then when I went to Palmer Orchids I also got a few cuttings. They seem to be doing really well. They're in clear cups so that I can see if there's root growth, and I have them in a combination of cocoa husks and then a little bit of moss so that they retain that moisture, but some of them do have perlite in the mixture. You can see it in there, but it's super chunky, and I just added a little bit of moss to retain moisture. I usually don't use moss because I'm terrible at watering when the plant is in moss, and I usually just like rot it away, but I know that the orchids need that moisture, so I'm trying to do a better job with them. And then in this section, as you can see, it's quickly filling up with Hoyas, and I've been trying to, these should move so that you can see. I've been trying to keep up with trellising them, which, as you know, is easier said than done because I have so many and they grow so fast, but they're really happy. And I mean, I'm glad that my problem is I can't keep up with trellising them rather than killing Hoyas, because I don't know, they seem to be doing really well. So here's more Hoyas. I am super obsessed with this one. I got this one from my friend Irina, and it's my Cynthiantha Splash. I know I butchered that, but it's so pretty. It's doing really well. And then over here I have a bunch of Hoyas that I had in the shelf on the other side, but they needed to be trellised, so they didn't fit on that shelf anymore, so I trellised them and I had to move them to this section, and they're just doing really well. I have been treating for flat mites every 3 weeks, and it seems to have caused a growth spurt. I know it's a combination of my fertilizing routine and the flat mite treatment, so I'm not just going to attribute it all to the flat mite treatment, but I know that that has worked. I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I know I had flat mites because I see some signs of it under the leaves of some of the Hoyas, but I did not look under a microscope to confirm that they're flat mites. I don't want to see them. I would rather just assume I have them and treat for them, and it seems to be working. I've been doing it now for 2 months, every 3 weeks, so I've done, I think, 3 treatments, and it's been going really well. I mentioned before that I was using a combination of abamectin and horticultural oil, and it seems to be working really well. So I'm going to continue to do that, and like I said, I'm only doing it every 3 weeks because flat mites have a different life cycle than regular spider mites, so they don't need to be treated every week like spider mites do. So yeah, my desert roses are doing really well. I barely ever water them. I only really water them when they need to be fertilized. Otherwise they get some rain sometimes when it rains, and for the most part, since they're in terracotta and super airy soil, they for the most part stay dry. You can tell with desert roses when they need water because the oh my god, the caudex is squishy. So like right now this one's really solid, it's hard, so this one doesn't need water. Yeah, they store water in their caudex, and that's why it's so fat, and so the fact that they're pretty hard, it means they don't need water. If you ever touch a desert rose and the caudex is soft, like squishy, they need water. And I'm sad to report that this one, I hope it focuses. Let me see. Okay, yeah, the grafted part of this desert rose died, so now it's like reverting back to the original. Hold on, it's like not focusing from that side for some reason. There. So like you can see that the bottom is growing. That's the growth from the caudex, which is usually like a basic desert rose, like pink single flowers or red. And then the top is usually the grafted portion that gives you those fancy flowers. Well, I don't know if it was the extra sun. I don't know what caused it, but I do know that it died off. So I'm just letting it do its thing. Obviously, like these rotted away. So I don't know why it happened. All of the other ones seem to be doing well. I left this here because I want it to callus over, see if I can propagate it. But I'm just leaving it there, and hopefully it'll root. It probably won't, but you know, doesn't hurt to try. Then in this section I have some of my Haworthias, and obviously my favorite peperomia, which I'm pretty sure I've shown you guys before. It's like my favorite peperomia I have. It's like a super rare one. I got it from Fairchild Gardens about a couple years ago, and it's freaking humongous right now. So I'm really happy with that. Then down here I have some more Hoyas that are trellised, and I have this Hoya GPS 8867 that somehow decided to throw out a variegated leaf. So I'm looking forward to see if this continues to grow in a variegated pattern. The problem is so usually when you have like a new variegation like this, what you want to do is you want to cut that node and propagate that node to like get the Hoya to grow variegated moving forward. But the inner node here is so short that I can't cut it. So I'm hoping that the new growth that comes out from this node here will come out variegated as well, and then I can cut it and propagate it. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. Like I said, this inner node is way too small to be cut. Like this is not, so this is a petiole, right? But the node is right here. Like it's a growth coming from here. And so this inner node, it's like tiny, it's like a millimeter long. I cannot possibly cut that and hope that it lives. I don't want to risk it. So I'm just going to wait for another growth on this Hoya, and then hopefully I can promote that variegation by cutting it and propagating it, but we'll see. I don't think I've shown you guys this before. This is what also one of my first like plant obsessions was aglaonemas. They're very easy to grow and they're very resilient plants, and this is called a split milk aglaonema, and it's just really beautiful. So it's one of those plants that I've held on to, that some people may consider them to be basic, but whatever, I really don't care. I love this plant so much, and it's a really really easy grower, so I'm happy to have her. Another update in this section, sorry, I'm like crawling through the floor. My Imperialis that I cut with you guys a few weeks ago, this node died off, and then I had to cut another node, but this seems to be doing fine, and the bottom part of the Hoya seems to be doing fine. It's also pushing out a new growth from down here and from down here, so I am glad I made the decision to cut her because it's now pushing out new growth. I did lose most of the cuttings that I took from her, but I do have two that are still alive, so I'm hoping at least two of them will stay alive. Another change that I made out here is, I don't know if you remember, here, let me stand up real quick, is I used to have a lot more aeroids here. I also got rid of those. I gave most of them to my friend Rick. He has the room in his yard to grow them and give them a good home, and I also just needed more room for Hoyas. So I got rid of most of my moss poles. I only kept 4 that I really love. My Monstera Peru, my Golden Dragon, and down here, or back there, is my Squamiferum. But here is my Milano. I had this Milano inside. It was one of the first like rare aeroids that I got for myself. I got it in a trade. It was a single node with a huge leaf, and it just was not doing well inside at all. It just hated being inside. I don't know if it's that I couldn't keep up with the humidity or I couldn't keep up with the lighting it wanted. But I was scared of moving it outside because I didn't want it to get spider mites or mealybugs or anything like that. And I think I was just being too overprotective and not trusting that the plant would be healthy and resilient enough to be outside. Well, finally this year I was like, I just cannot handle this plant inside anymore. I just didn't have it in me. So I decided to try one last thing and throw it outside, and it has been thriving since I moved it out here. It's giving me actual big leaves, and I know this does not look big for Milano, but I'm telling you, I was getting leaves like this big inside for like a year and a half. So this is big for what I was getting inside. And I'm just really happy that I made that decision. I love my Milano, and I hope I can keep growing it big out here. Here's another growth. Oh my god, this leaf is so pretty. I know. So I'm just leaving it there, fertilizing it, watering it, and it's been doing really well. So then I have this Hoya shelf right here next to the single chair that I have in the porch for coffee. And so here, let me move this. So a lot of these Hoyas were in the shelf that's behind me, but I had to move them here because they needed to be trellised, and they were getting too big. I've shown you guys this Hoya before, but this is my Mitrata. It's doing really, really well. My Megalantha that I showed you guys a few weeks ago is also doing really, really well. Pretty much everything in here is loving life. So I'm really happy with that. I thought I wasn't going to be able to give it enough light in this shelf, but they seem to be doing fine. I think it gets light from the cracks behind and then just the ambient light in the porch. It also gets some indirect light in the morning. The sun comes from that way, so it gets light over here in the morning, and then in the afternoon it's just indirect low light. So they're doing fine, and I'm really happy with that. The ones on top, however, are still adjusting to the amount of light they're getting. They used to be in this section here, and I moved them here so that I can put other Hoyas here that I have in the prop box. But they're kind of burning a little bit, and I expected that just because usually you're supposed to slowly increase the amount of light they're getting so it doesn't burn, so that they sun stress instead of sunburning. So here we have some signs of burning. Here's another leaf that's burning. Here's another one. Here's some more. But overall, they're doing fine. They're doing better than I expected them to be doing, so I am definitely happy. Also, I just noticed a lizard. I have a lot of these in the porch, and I freaking love them. I love getting lizards in the porch. I feel like I have a lizard colony back here. So alright, I'm gonna take a break, drink some water. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and properly hydrated now. So obviously you guys already know I have succulents and cactuses on the top two shelves here because it gets too much light for my Hoyas. The sun sets on that side, and it gets pretty direct. I mean, it's not direct because it's under the covered porch, but like borderline direct or high indirect light for like 3 hours in the afternoon. This section gets a little more than this section, so I definitely can't have Hoyas there. But the succulents and cactus are doing really, really well. These two are my nemesis. Every single time I have to move them, I end up with a lot of thorns on my hands. But whatever, I love them. And they're just so pretty. I feel like succulents and cactus are underrated. Okay, it's a mixture. They're overrated and underrated. When I first started collecting plants, I was like super into collecting succulents, but then I realized I don't really care about them that much. I just like them. So I kept my favorite ones, and then I gave most of my other ones away to family members. My mom loves cactus and succulents, and so does my aunt. So here's actually I think it's called a watermelon begonia, but it's like a really succulent-y begonia, so I put it over here with the rest of my cactus. And then here's I think it's like a skeleton dead plant. I have the name of it written somewhere, but I've had this plant for like 2 years and I absolutely love it. It doesn't look real and it looks like dead bones. I posted this plant. It's a euphorbia. I posted it a few days ago. I've had it for a couple of years and it's really, really happy. I love how weird it is and it's actually blooming for me. Then here I have a bunch of other types of cactuses that I really, really love. And that one, sad because that one back there was blooming yesterday and the flower was super, super huge. I think the flower might open later today when the sun comes out. So if it does, I'll post a picture in the video later. But if it doesn't, oh well, you missed out. In this section, I have still my Hoyas. These are more basic ones. I have a lot of different obscuras here, like my Matilde and stuff like that are here. They get like medium, indirect light. In the bottom, I have some trellis begonias, some trellis Hoyas that are also doing really, really well. I have my basic Crimson Queen, which I love. I love my Crimson Queen. She's one of the first Hoyas I got. I have my Nervosa here, which I love my Nervosa. I think it's really underrated. My Multiflora is blooming again. I actually thought about propagating her this week, and then I came out because I knew it had stopped blooming. Like it dropped all of its blooms like a week ago, so I came out here to cut her, and then I realized like it's already working on 2 more blooms. Like both ends are working on blooms, so I couldn't cut it. But good news is it's pushing out new growth over here. Let's see. This is everyone's favorite section. My big babies. So my Obscura is super sun stressed right now. Hopefully the lighting in there lets you see, but she's super sun stressed. And this is my favorite time of year for my Obscura because of how sun stressed she gets. I've moved my Croniana Super Silver on the side, and it's doing really well. My Curtisia used to be hanging here, and it has like a death wish right now for some reason and is not doing well, so I have to deal with it soon. So I moved my Croniana on this side now. My Pubicalis is getting huge, and it's like growing everywhere. It's like on top of my succulents, and I just cannot tame her, but whatever, she's happy. This is a Vanda here, and it gets a lot of light on this side. I try to keep up with watering it, but I'm not that good at it, so I put a little bit of cocoa husk under to kind of like retain some of that moisture but not stay too wet. And I think I'm watering her like every 3 days, which is better than I used to do, so I'm happy about that. My Retusa is doing really well, but it's not blooming. It's never bloomed for me. She's gotten huge. She's like all the way touching the floor. My Meridithii is humongous. Look at this leaf. My other Meridithii is also humongous. They seem to be doing really well. My Michelle is doing really well as well. And here's my mutant leaf. I think this is a Vitellinoides. It was given to me as a Meridithii cutting, but obviously it's not a Meridithii. I think it's a Vitellinoides. And then look at this giant leaf back here. It's absolutely stunning. My Megalister is also growing like crazy. Hopefully you can tell how big they've gotten recently after I started treating for flat mites and also fertilizing more. My Sergioensis is huge. I probably said that wrong. Carrie has gotten huge. My Dr. Ebok was even bigger, but I cut her yesterday. I cut like half of my Dr. Ebok yesterday. Down here we have a bunch of lacunosas. We have my Fraser Hills, and then this is just one of my first Hoyas ever. It's a basic lacunosa that I got from my friend Rachel, and this Hoya is literally always blooming for me, always blooming. And I've cut so many peduncles off, but it's literally always blooming. Over here I have some smaller propagations. So I've mentioned before how, you know, I propagate my cuttings in little cups. I wait until they're super rooted, then I move them to terracotta, and I keep them in a grow bin for at least a couple weeks so that they acclimate from the plastic cup to the bigger terracotta pot. After a couple weeks, then I move it out here into my porch, but I always put it in these areas up here that are smaller, that can't fit a trellis. And the other reason why I put it on this section here is they get the best lighting here. It's indirect medium light, but also it allows me to keep an eye on them. Like, it's in my line of sight. With my brain, I have like really bad ADHD, so for me it's like out of sight, out of mind completely. I'll completely forget about it if I don't see it, so I won't remember to keep an eye on it if it's not in my direct line of sight. So I keep it up here so that I'm able to keep an eye on them as they get bigger. And once they get big enough to be trellised, then I trellis it and I move it to a different area. So they stay here while they're small, and then they get moved to a different area. So that's why there's always different Hoyas on this section, is because those are my, I guess, transitioning Hoyas. So my Ganunga ding 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 is doing really well. I cannot pronounce that Hoya for some reason. This one is a Fertilizing Splash. It's doing really, really well. This is a nap. I just don't remember the number. That's nap 1 over here. And it has like the cutest little growth. It's absolutely gorgeous. Here's another Fertilizing. This one is called Dark Veins. I don't remember which one this is. This is a Nundamensis Splash. Here's my AH068. She's doing beautifully. I love this one, but no, I'm really bad with remembering names of Hoyas when I first get them. But this one is IML 1038. She's doing absolutely stunning. This is one of my RHMs. It's RHM 2074, and I kind of sunburnt them because I didn't move it early enough. I had it by the railing and I completely forgot about it, so it's sunburnt a little bit, but it's doing really well. So I know it's going to be fine. Over here we have my AH74, which is reverting. It doesn't have that much silver on it, so I got to keep an eye on it and possibly move it from here. Here's my nap 15. She's doing really well. This one is super splashy, and this one is a Dakei Chicken Farm cross, but splash. I have a Dakei Chicken Farm already, but this one's like super splashy, and I got this one from Rick, so I'm really excited about this one. Actually, there's something that's really exciting here. So I got this Hoya, my Cagayensis, from my friend Erica and Junior like over a year ago, and it was the slowest growing Hoya, probably one of my hardest Hoyas to grow, and it's finally growing. Like, it's taking off, and I'm so happy about it. I've had it literally for over a year, and look at how slow it's been, but whatever, it's finally growing and I'm happy about it. And then here's some more Hoyas. I call them my mango looking leaf Hoyas. They're like my thin leaf Hoyas. They're all on this section, so I can keep an eye on them. They don't like to dry out too much, so I keep them over here. My SP IM04 I'm really excited about. I got this cutting from Rick. It has a beautiful bloom, so I'm really looking forward to this one growing out. My RHM 2021 that I recently cut is over here. My Cornerii, which hates life, and I think what was happening is it had flat mites, and it's finally growing. I've had this Hoya for over a year, and it just didn't seem to want to grow, so I think it was flat mites, but now it's actually growing. My Insularis, I actually cut it yesterday, so it was even bushier than this, and I cut it yesterday. Down here, I posted a little short on my Pachiclata elbow the other day. It is actually blooming for me. This is the first time it's ever bloomed for me, and I've had her for like 2 years now, so I'm really happy about that. And then my Pot of Gold obviously is one of my favorite Hoyas. You guys already know this. Everything just seems to be doing really well. This is, oh no, I can't remember the name. Yeah, my Clemensorium. I got this as a cutting from Rick. The original leaf is down here, and it is growing huge. I mean, look at this leaf. It's absolutely stunning, so I'm really excited about that. These down here are growing super bushy. I gotta do something about this because this means that the ones in the back are not getting enough light, so I gotta cut this soon. It's like a never-ending battle with me and Hoyas because I want them trellised, I want them to grow big, but if I let them grow out too much, then the ones in the back don't get enough light. So I'm constantly cutting and trellising and just trying to keep the mess contained. Down here, everything is doing really well too. I'm really excited about this one. I think I showed this to you guys a few weeks ago. It's my Stenekii. It's super fuzzy. I got it from Rick also, and it's just doing really well, so I'm very excited for that one. What else do I want to show you guys? Oh, this is my Tequila Sunrise. I almost killed it for some reason, but it's coming back and it's doing really well, so I'm excited about that one growing back. I know it's not like super exciting, but I'm proud of it because I didn't kill it. I gotta move this to show you guys what's behind it. So there's my Dakei Chicken Farm cross that I mentioned. Viola right next to it. Pretty much everything down here is doing really well, so I'm really happy about that. Here's my gnome. I love this little guy. Back here, there's a bunch of other stuff. Here, oh, there's a lizard. Oh, she's hiding. Ah, there you are. I told you I have a lot of lizards back here. And I guess something is going on because you can hear the police and the firefighters. Anyway, so everything back here is doing really, really well. I recently cut a lot of this for my friend Emmanuel, so it doesn't look super bushy, but the AC is back. I keep having to stop and start this video because the AC units directly next to my porch keep turning on and it messes up the audio. So my apologies, guys. Anyways, the Hoyas are doing really well. The orchids are doing really well. My succulents are doing really well. The desert roses are blooming. I'm actually keeping up with fertilizing, and I'm keeping up with the flat mite treatments. So I'm really proud of myself for at least sticking with it for the last couple of months. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the growth that's going to come out of the summer and spring this year. I will do another porch tour video, I want to say in a couple of months, so that you guys can see the results of my very, very hard work. But for now, I'm going to leave you guys with one last walkthrough of the porch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's video, seeing some blooms, seeing some orchids, Hoyas, and so forth. And hopefully I'll see you guys back here next week. No pressure, but hopefully I will. Alright, bye guys!